Hey guys, my name is Patty. Welcome back to my channel. I know it has been way too long since I last uploaded a video. You may or may not know that I recently started law school, and so I just hit the ground running with orientation, which was on August 10th. My birthday was on the 11th, but it honestly has just been super intense. So I haven't had a chance to just sit down and talk with you guys. I told myself today I would take a study break to film a video. I promised you guys on TikTok that I was gonna talk about my law school journey, especially with apps being open up for this cycle. I definitely wanted to get this video out for you guys now. To give any sort of tips, wisdom, just kind of share my experience, and it might resonate with you and hopefully it helps you out. I honestly don't know where to start, so I guess I'll just start at the beginning. So to be totally honest with you guys, I didn't always know that I wanted to go into law and that I wanted to go to law school. And really, my law school journey began in the summer of 2021 after graduating. I actually majored in screenwriting, and so all of my background was in film and entertainment. In the last few months of my last semester, and honestly the last year, I was starting to think that I really would prefer to be on the other side of things, more so on the business side of the film and television industry. And so I had been kind of researching and investigating for myself, as well as looking introspectively to see where is that for me. And over time, through various internship and work experiences, I realized that I could go into entertainment law, and that is something that was really going to be aligned with my skill set, my personality, and my desires, as well as my passions as a person and a future professional. So that's what brought me to law school. So once I made my decision, I hit the ground running. I didn't want to lose any time because I'm such a type A perfectionist type of person that I felt like even taking one gap year, because I would have to apply and then I wouldn't start law school until the following year. It sounds really horrible to say, and I do not identify with this belief anymore at all, but I was embarrassed. I was worried about what people were gonna think, what people might say, and I was worried about situations where people might ask me what I was up to, and I wasn't up to anything. So I actually decided to keep it a secret that I was applying to law school, and I just kept it something for myself. My boyfriend knew, my mom knew, but I didn't tell anyone what I was doing except for professors that I asked for a letter of recommendation from. So of course, when you're going to law school, you have to take the LSAT, and so like I said, summer 2021, I started studying for the LSAT. I also said I didn't want to waste any time, so I self-studied because prep courses are so expensive, and applying to law school is expensive enough as it is, even with fee waivers. So I self-studied. You guys are actually propped up on all of my LSAT books right now that I need to get rid of so badly. And I rushed the process. I was also working at the time as a personal assistant to a film director, and so I couldn't completely focus on studying for the LSAT, and on top of that, I rushed the process. I believe I took it in January. I was not happy with my score at all. I'm an anxious test taker, and then I decided to retake it. I retook it in January, and once again, I was not happy, but I was like, you know what, I need to apply. We cannot waste any more time. So I applied anyway at the very end of the cycle. At any school that had January deadlines, it was the very end of January, and then other than that, by February deadlines. Like I said, rushed the process. I don't think I gave myself the best shot. My personal statement, I was happy with that. All this sort of supplemental essays, but I wasn't happy with my test score, and I applied at the end of the cycle. When I get into my second attempt, I'll tell you all of my stats, which are basically the same, you know? So I applied end of the cycle, so I found out pretty late into spring, and I got into some great schools. I got into schools like UC San Francisco's law school. I got into, gosh, I can't remember the schools from the first cycle. A lot of really great schools, but I really wanted to go to a top law school, and rankings aren't everything, but I know that I want to go into big law, and so I had it in my mind that if I wanted to set myself up for the best possibilities of success in what I want to do, I really want to go to a top law school. And so at the time, I had the decision I can go to a school that is good and that accepted me, take out all of these loans, even though I'm not stoked about the situation, or I can swallow my pride and wait another year. I really had to sit with myself and think about what really matters. Does it matter what someone may or may not think about my personal journey, or does my future matter? Does 1 or 2 years really matter in the grand scheme of a lifetime that is hopefully, 80 plus years and, a long professional career? So yeah, like it was a lot of working on myself and having to kind of like come to terms with that ugly part of myself that I was struggling with, I don't know what other word to use other than ugly. I will say in that first cycle, along with those acceptances that I mentioned, I didn't mention all of the rejections, but I was also waitlisted by my dream school. And so with kind of this whole reflection process, it was like, you were almost good enough. You might have been good enough, just, there was someone who was a little bit better and you didn't make the cut. But maybe if you tried again. And so that was also kind of a driving force of this whole decision-making process for myself, and thinking like, will it be worth it to give it a shot, to give myself a shot? And so obviously it's 2 years after 2021. I did decide to apply again. In July of 2022, I quit my job. And so for the next few months, I self-studied again, but purely focused on the LSAT. So all of my focus was on the LSAT, and you guys, the LSAT was hard for me. I know some people it comes a lot easier to, some of us it doesn't. And for me, it was like a whole new way of thinking. But being able to completely focus on it was a huge help. I believe I retook the LSAT in September of 2022. And once again, I wasn't stoked about my score, but it was an improvement. And so I was like, at that point, before taking that third LSAT, I had told myself, girl, this is it. Like, this is the last ditch effort. The LSAT's not cheap. And like, what's the point? Like, how many times are you going to retake this thing? Like, even if it was $0, No. So that was my last chance. And so I knew whatever my score was, that was the score I was going to use to apply with. I did make some changes to my application as a whole. I adjusted my personal statement a little bit to kind of incorporate that additional year that I took into my personal statement, and then all of my supplemental essays I kept the same. I did apply to a different set of schools at this point because I felt like I had a better application as a whole. And specifically in my application to my dream school, I talked about being put on the wait list and how that motivated me to apply again, and why it was really important to me that I attended that school. Then this second time around, I submitted all of my applications by Halloween. So again, earlier in the cycle, a little bit better of LSAT score, and I think that my personal statement was improved. I just waited, and then on December 7th, I got the call. I was like, I put him on mute, I was like crying, and then I held it together and, finished the phone call. I'm like getting a little emotional thinking about that day, because I was bawling. I was so happy. So I know a lot of people like to know about stats. My LSAT was in the low 160s. I was below their median, and my GPA was a 3.97. I am what people refer to as a reverse splitter. Some might say I'm a reverse super splitter. I would say reverse splitter is sufficient. I had no legal background, no background in the field of law as a professional, no legal studies at all. Like I said, I majored in screenwriting. I also had minors in Latinx and Latin American studies and women's studies. And I'm first generation. I'm first generation in that my parents didn't attend college, but I do have an older brother that did. But technically that does still make you first generation. Be a pretty self-reliant person and not want to like bug people for help or ask questions. So yeah, I figured out the whole application process on my own. It can be complex and difficult to navigate, but I use the help of YouTube and Reddit, although I would recommend staying off Reddit. It can be discouraging at times. Sometimes it can be, uplifting, but at times it can definitely be discouraging. And I would say, like, don't listen to the people on there. But yeah, I mean, I don't really know what else there is to touch on aside from that. I feel like I touched on all of the basics of my application process and my journey and kind of my statistics. I didn't really have any like stellar extracurriculars, if I'm being honest. Like in school, I was very much like, do my homework, I have my hobbies, and that was basically it. I did do several internships throughout my college experience, but again, in entertainment, and then I worked as an executive personal assistant after graduating college. Oh, and I also was a tour guide for my university as an undergrad, so that's kind of like what was on my resume. But if you have any other specific questions about the process or my specific journey, feel free to ask me in the comments. If there's enough, I can make a follow-up video, kind of a Q&A, or I can just answer them in the comments. You're welcome to DM me on TikTok or Instagram as well. I'm so happy to help anyone throughout this process. Like, we don't gatekeep here, you know? I will be so real with you guys. Like, the imposter syndrome doesn't go away when you're accepted. It doesn't even go away when you're there, but it doesn't matter. Believe in yourself. That is literally all that matters, is that you believe that you can do it. Fake it till you make it if you have to. That's what I did, you know? I told myself like there's literally no way I don't do this. There's no way this doesn't work out for me, because it just has to. And obviously it doesn't just happen like that. You put in the work, you put in the effort, and it can happen. Swallow your pride like I had to. You do the work inside and out. But yeah, I believe in you guys. I also need to add that like I would not be here without my incredible support system, my family, my boyfriend, my friends. But it is crucial that you believe in yourself, especially if you don't have that support system, which I know not everyone does. But a lot of times, and I think this is gonna be true throughout law school, is that even with a support system, sometimes you gotta be your own support system. And that's okay. Like I said, we fake it till we make it, and we're gonna make it. I'm hoping to be able to be more consistent here on YouTube. If you follow me on TikTok, you know I've been doing a lot of little daily vlogs, kind of chronicling my morning and evening routines and everything in between. But I'm really hoping to film a little day in my life, or even week in my life as a law school student here for YouTube. So fingers crossed that that comes sooner rather than later. But I will definitely be talking to you guys so soon. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you later.